the plan in the very beginning was never to even consider like the 4-generational process of what we do, you know, from my grandfather having a love for quail hunting and pointers and German short hairs, then as I come up and get into duck hunting, it developing into an actual business. So at the time I knew I wanted to do this professionally. And even starting out, we didn't even think of it being 4 generations. It developed into that, you know, so we're not fancy, we're not big. It's just life, it's what we do. In the beginning, I was more worried about training dogs and making money. Now it's more about leaving my mark on the dog training industry and breeding Labrador retrievers. Noticing that what we're doing is shrinking that down in size and worrying more about the quality. So worrying about quality instead of quantity. And really only wanting, you know, what we call a handful of dogs in that program, because that's part of that family we're building. So with Hannah growing up with me, training for people and building gun dogs, you know, she tagged along with me. You know, I love my kids and want to spend time with them. Dog training is kind of time consuming at times. So, you know, she spent a lot of time as early age kid following dad around in the fields, playing with the dogs, working the drills, teaching them and growing them into, you know, finished dogs. You know, I think she has the same passion I have for not being stuck in an office or a shop or being in a classroom teaching kids. It's being outside teaching dogs. And she's got that without me pushing it into her, which is very, very humbling for me to see now. So back in high school, she started, you know, working for me at the kennel, washing and feeding, and soon started, you know, carrying dogs on walks. And then she started building her own dog, Wheeler, which I think is where she really found her direction with Wheeler. But, you know, she started out with the gun dog stuff and then has really taken hold of this outdoor adventure dog program. That's kind of her wheelhouse. And she's the same way as me, and I can see it in her as far as making the connection with the client and training that dog for them and getting them to be a part of this outdoor lifestyle that we live. And that's kind of how she's grown from gun dogs into that part. And then for Noah was, you know, classmates with Hannah, and it's the same thing. He was coming and hanging out at the kennel, and he literally hung out here for several months because he liked it that much that he just, every bit of free time he had, he was here at the kennel, you know, helping wash the kennels and helping feed and throwing birds and walking dogs, and just had a natural want to about it, you know. And that's anybody we've ever hired at the kennel, I always tell them this is not a 9-to-5 type job that you can just do to make money. If you're doing that, you're not doing it at the right level. And there's a thing that each Hannah and Noah has that I can't give them, and that's the passion for the dog. And Noah's the same way. He just hung out for a long time to a point we finally said, okay, if you're gonna be here this much, we might as well put you on payroll. And he kind of started a little bit after Hannah did. And then, you know, Noah's actually followed me around to a couple of different jobs that I've done with training, and has learned and now has flourished into what I call, you know, a true gun dog trainer that can actually finish a dog. You know, he can take the dog from 8 weeks as a puppy all the way up to a 2-year-old finished dog that is complete and a joy to be around. So there's one thing that I wish I could see today, and that's Papa Crisco seeing what we've done. My dad makes the comment he would have a cot down in our store and probably not ever leave, because that's the kind of passion he had for dogs and doing something like this. And then my dad, as we built Whistling Wings and, you know, he was here, he developed that passion again. It was nice seeing that. And I think that's what separates us from everybody else. I think that's why Whistling Wings will be here even when we're done. I think it's its own animal of a family that will always grow. This is our life. So this is real. We're not fancy. This is just something that we do. I think that's why we have lasted as long as we have, and we're still growing today, 10 years later. You know, my dad was a preacher for years, and you know, I've always heard him refer to, you know, people just don't go say, I want to be a preacher as a profession. You know, God gives the calling to those preachers. I feel like God has given me the calling of training dogs for the rest of my life. I'm not worried about retirement. My retirement's happening right now because this is not a job for us.